This week, we're going to be discussing Chanukah. But we're going to be discussing something that we didn't discuss before, just to give us an idea of what Chanukah is all about. So in order to start, let's start all the way in the beginning. We're going to start with the story of Chanukah. This is the source from the Code of Jewish Law, from Shulchan Aruch. And it talks about what is Chanukah. So let's start over there. It's the best place to start, and then we're going to move to other areas. So it says, this is what Chanukah is all about. B'Bayit Sheni, during the Second Temple, כשמלכה מלכות יוון, when the Greeks were in power, גזרו גזרות על ישראל. They made decrees on Jewish people, ביטלו את דתם. They tried to nullify the religion, ולא הניחו אותם לעסוק בתורה ומצוות. They did not let them be religious. It was a religious war. ופשטו ידיהם בממונם. They started confiscating their wealth. ובבנותיהם, they started taking our women. ונכנסו להיכל, they went into the temple. ופרצו בו פרצות. They plundered the temple, violating its sanctity. טימאו את הטהרות. They impurified all the pure stuff. וצר להם לישראל מאוד מפניהם, and the Jewish people were very oppressed from them, ולחצום לחץ גדול, because they were oppressed to a great extent. Notice how it's a religious war. The Greeks did not destroy the temple like the Romans. They loved beauty. They're not going to destroy such a beautiful structure. But what did they do? They told the Jews, guys, you have to change your culture. You have to become Greeks like us. So they didn't destroy the temple. They impurified the temple. Did something else. Just notice that. Then it continues. עד שריחם עליהם אלוקי אבותינו, until God had mercy, והושיעם מידם והצילם, and he saved us from the hands. וגברו בני חשמונאי הכהנים הגדולים. The חשמונאים, the high priest, were mightiers, והרגום. And they killed the Greeks. והושיעו את ישראל מידם. And they brought salvation to the Jewish people from the Greeks. והעמידו מלך מן הכהנים. This was another strange thing. A king came, not from the house of Yehuda, but from the house of Levi, from the Kohanim. וחזרה מלכות ישראל יותר מ-200 שנה עד החורבן השני. And we ruled in the temple. The Jewish people ruled for more than 200 years until the destruction of the Second Temple. And then it continues, וכשקברו ישראל על אויביהם, when the Jewish people were won over their enemies, ואיבדום, ב-25 בחודש כסלו, it was on the 25th day of Kislev. ונכנסו להיכל, they entered into the holy, the house, ולא מצאו שמן טהור במקדש אלא פח אחד. They only found one cruse of oil left, which is purified, which is pure. Everything else was unpure. שהיה מונח בחותמו של כהן גדול. The reason why they knew it was pure is because it had a sin of the high priest. ולא היה בו להדליק אלא יום אחד בלבד. There was only enough in this oil to be lit for one day. והדליקו בנרות המערכה 8 ימים. But they lit from it for 8 days. עד שקדשו זיתים והוציאו שמן טהור. Until the time that it takes to make oil, it was 3 days away. To make pure oil, they needed to travel 3 days, 1 day to make it, and 3 days to come back. So that's 7 days, but Shabbos is in between. So you can't either do the work or travel on Shabbos. So that's why it took all 8 days. And because of this miracle, of this 8-day miracle, מפני זה התקינו חכמים שבאותו הדור שיהיו 8 ימים האלו. So the sages decided, look, we're going to make these 8 days to memorize it. שמתחילים ב-15 בכסלו. It's going to, those days will start on the 25th day of Kislev. ימי שמחה והלל. We're going to make it into a holiday. This is going to be a rabbinic holiday. The sages established it. ומדליקים בהם הנרות בערב על פתחי הבתים. We light the candles in the evening on the courtyards close to the road, unlike the way we do it over here in America. But we'll discuss that some other time. בכל לילה ולילה בשמונות הלילות, in each and every night of the 8 nights, להראות ולראות הנס, to advertise the miracle that God did for the Jewish people. There's going to be a class on source number 2, but we're not going to discuss this class right now. We're just going to mention it, but just that you know that to solve source number 2, we need the whole class for that. If we have time, we'll do it some other time. So it says, ויש לדייק, למה קבעו 8 ימים? We have to establish why it was specifically 8 days. מכיוון שהשם של הפח היה בו כדי להדליק לילה אחד, since the first night, it wasn't a miracle, it's only the next nights are miracles, נמצא שלא נעשה נס אלא בשבעה לילות. So the miracle was only for 7 nights. So we have to say the question, why it was 8 nights? There's many answers to this. We're not going to deal with it this time. What we're going to be dealing with is more of the overall idea of what Chanukah is all about. So let's start. The Rebbe says, חג החנוכה בכללות שייך לימות המשיח. Chanukah and the times of Mashiach are together. They're 2 holidays with the same theme. Chanukah and ימות המשיח, in the days of Mashiach. על פי המבואר בקבלה בחסידות. Where can you see it? Many places in Kabbalah and Hasidus, they explain that Chanukah and the days of Mashiach are one. What does it say? What's the proof? So Kabbalah, it explains to you immediately. שנרות חנוכה הם במספר 8. It says, look, it's the holiday, it's with the number 8. And what? בדוגמת כינור של משיח, שיש לה 8 נימים. As just like it's going to be the harp in the time of Mashiach are going to have 8 strings. You know, now there are 7 musical notes. A, B, C, that's a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, right? There's 7 musical notes. It says at the time of Mashiach there's going to be 8 notes. People are going to hear one more note that they don't hear now. That's for the time of Mashiach. So right now it's 7 strings. At the time of Mashiach it's 8 strings. The same thing in the temple. The temple had 7, in the candelabra in the temple had 7 lights. And when Chanukah comes, what it is, it's 8 lights, just like it's going to be at the time of Mashiach. Which means that Chanukah and Mashiach are paralleled. But
at the time of the Mashiach, so the menorah is going to have 7 in the Mikdash?
Yeah, it's going to have 7. But at the time of Mashiach, everything a lot of things in the musical notes, for example, is going to be 8. You're going to see. By the way, the number 8, if you put it on the side, it's a sign of infinity, as we're going to see later on. Okay. So let's see. This is brought in the Talmud, source number 3. The Talmud says, on page number 5, in the middle of the page, Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Kinor shel Mikdash, it says the musical instruments in the temple, shel Shivat Nimi haya. It had 7 notes, 7 strings. Sheneemar, how do we know this? Because it says, Sova smachot et panecha. It says Sova from the Lashon satiated, full of happiness et panecha. But the word Sova also comes from the word Sheva, 7. It's the same thing. Al tikra Sova ela Sheva. So it says the harp, all the musical instrument in the temple had 7 strings. V'shel yemot HaMashiach. And then the Talmud tells us, you should know that when Mashiach is going to come at the time of the Messiah, Shmona, it's going to be 8. Where do we see this? Sheneemar, because it says in the Psalms, Lamnatseach al hashminit. It says for the conductor, which conductor? The one who conducts over the 8-string instruments. That's going to be when, at the time of Mashiach, there's going to be, we're telling the conductor, hey conductor, now you have to worry about one more note. Yeah? Al nima shminit. This is source number 3, and we can see this is from Talmud. But let's continue over here. וכמו כן מודגש בנרות חנוכה, and there's something else we see that is different in this holiday than all other holidays. What is different? Something is emphasized in the candles of Chanukah, עניין הנצחיות, the fact that they're forever. Why do we see they're forever? שהנרות הללו אינם בטלים לעולם. That these candles are never going to get out of style. We are always going to light them. Unlike
the rest of the holidays that the Mashiach come, you're not going to celebrate.
we're not going to do Pesach?
No.
All right, we talk about it. It's important to bring this concept. So it says, "Afilu bezman hagalut." The simple explanation over here, it's what do you mean the light of candles? Right now, everything they had in the temple, all the services did in the temple, we don't do anymore. The light of the temple is not shining anymore, but the light of the menorah that we light on this Thursday, it shines even when there's no temple. Whether there is a temple, whether there's no temple, that light that we light now is going to shine forever. That's the difference. אפילו בזמן הגלות, וכפי שבמורה במדרש, and just like it's brought in the Midrash, I'll have to explain the Midrash soon, שכל המועדים בטלים חוץ מחנוכה ופורים, that all the holidays gets nullified, except Chanukah or Purim. Except the holiday of Chanukah and Purim. A lot of people have the misconception that we are not going to have Rosh Hashanah, we're not going to have Yom Kippur, we're not going to have Pesach, we're not going to have Sukkot. That's not what it is. So it says when all the holidays are going to be betelim, it doesn't mean that you're not going to eat matzah on Pesach. Of course we're going to eat matzah on Pesach. Of course we're going to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. That is not going to change. Oh, exactly. What is going to change? Right now, a regular day, is just a regular day. When a holiday comes, there's a special light that shines upon the earth. We don't see it, but there is. When the time of Mashiach is going to be, every day is going to be so holy that the regular holiday is going to be nullified. Imagine, think about it like this way. Like, for example, you have a candle. Right now we're in darkness. When Sukkot come, so we put a candle up and there's light in the room, right? And when Shabbos come, we put a candle light and there's light in the room. Rosh Hashanah come, there's a small candle in the room, it's light in the room. Imagine at the time of Mashiach, it's not that you're not going to have a candle. Of course you're going to put a candle in the street, on the room, but there's going to be so much light as if you turned off on the lights in the room. The candle doesn't do nothing. That's what it means, it's going to be nullified. Not that it's really not going to be performed. It's going to be performed, but compared to the light that's going to be shining at the time anyway, you're not going to see it so much. It's not going to be as holy. Let's put it this way. But let's continue in source number 4. And we're going to start seeing where is the source for this Chanukah and why is it so special? Why is Chanukah, the holiday that lasts forever, and all the other holidays do not last forever? What's so special? Just like Mashiach. Mashiach is a sign of infinity. It lasts forever.
So Rabbi, when you say it lasts forever, so you say in the time of the Mashiach, you're going to light the Chanukah. Also, it's not going to give you as much light.
Or in the time of Mashiach, the lighting of the menorah is going to make a difference. You're going to see it. That's the difference. That's the point. That you're going to see the extra light. That's the point. Purim and Chanukah, you're going to see, but we're not going to concentrate on Purim right now. Chanukah is going to be extra light. Not just zero. That's going to be something else. You know, in other words, you're going to notice if you're going to light the Chanukah candle by the amount of light in the room. Okay? That's the difference. So source number 4, we're going to see the source for this. So it says like this. וידבר השם משה מאוד, this is from the Chumash. God spoke to Moshe saying, דבר אל אהרון, speak to Aaron, ואמרת אליו, and you should tell to him, בהעלותך את הנרות אל מול פני המנורה, יאירו 7 הנרות. He tells them, the 7 lamps that you should light in a certain way, that they should light the menorah. He's telling him his service in the temple. Okay? And then Nachmonides, by the way, just for the information, the main commentary on the Torah, on the Chumash, is whom? Rashi. The second guy, pretty much the second guy commentary on the Torah is Nachmonides. So the Ramban. So a lot of Chumash, a lot of people do it with the Ramban. He brings a lot of questions. He's not pshat, he's a little bit more deep, but that's what he is. So Nachmonides asks a question about this. He's asking the question, למה נסמכה פרשת מנורה לחנוכת הנשיאים? So it says, why is the menorah, the whole service of the menorah is next when all the leaders of the tribe brought the sacrifices when they first built the tabernacle. When they first built the tabernacle, it says every leader of the tribe brought his sacrifice. And then it says, it starts talking about the menorah. It says, what's the connection over here? You talked about the menorah already before, when you built it. What?
Beside Levi, Shevet Levi.
Yeah, that's what he's going to say. That's what Nachmanides is going to say. Wait. He says, he explains. לפי שכשראה אהרון חנוכת הנשיאים, it says, because when Aaron saw all the other leaders of the tribe, he saw them what? He saw them bring the sacrifices for the tabernacle. חלשה דעתו. He became despondent. He became upset. Why did he become upset? שלא היה עמהם בחנוכה. Because in the dedication of the tabernacle, he didn't take part. His tribe, the Levi tribe, did not bring a sacrifice. They did not take a part. לא הוא ולא שבטו. Not him, not his tribe. אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, then God tells him. Says, Aaron, relax. It's okay. What did he tell him? חייך. It says, I promise you. שלך גדולה משלהם. I'm going to give you something greater than they have. What is he going to give them? שאתה מדליק ומטיב את הנרות בוקר וערב, that you are going to light the candles in the morning and in the evening. Actually, you're going to prepare them in the morning, you're going to light them in the evening. לשון רש"י ממדרש אגדה. This is what Rashi says in the Agada. And then Nachmanides is going to ask a difficult question. I don't know if you ask yourself this question, but it's a difficult question. ולא נתברר לי, I don't understand this conversation. Nachmanides says, this whole story, okay, we accept it because God said it, there's a whole conversation. But it says, if you think a little bit deeper, the question, the answer, the thing doesn't make sense. Why not? למה ניחמו בהדלקת הנרות? It says, what's so special about lighting the menorah? ולא, it says, that's not the only thing that Aaron did. He did many other things. We just learned it. We just lead Yoma, right? לא ניחמו בקטורת בוקר וערב. He could have said, you're going to be the one who's going to bring the incense. Only you. Nobody else is allowed to bring the incense. Morning and evening. Only the Kohanim are allowed. Only the high priest is allowed. Morning and evening. ובכל הקורבנות. Only you are allowed to bring sacrifices. No other tribes are allowed to bring sacrifices in the temple. ובמנחת חביתין, only you can bring the wheat offering. No one else is allowed to bring the wheat offering. ובעבודת יום הכיפורים, you could have told him, the service of Yom Kippur, only you are allowed to do the service of Yom Kippur. שאינה כשרה אל הבוד, you're the only one who's allowed to do it. ונכנס לפני ולפנים, you can tell him, you're the only one who's going to go into the Holy of Holies. What is it telling him about the menorah? What's so special about the menorah? לשרתו לדבר בשמו, ושבטו כולו משרת אלוקינו. And you're going to be the tribe who's going to serve as God every day. What's this menorah thing? He says, what's so special about this menorah? Why did he get? There's so many things that he could have said. Not only the menorah, there's many other things that only Kohanim do. Only the tribe of Levi are going to do. And then the Nachmanides is going to give an answer. אבל עניין ההגדה הזו, but he says, when he says, God tells Aaron, you're going to light the menorah, he wasn't talking about what?
The Bet HaMikdash menorah.
He wasn't talking about the Bet HaMikdash menorah. What was he talking about? Chanukah. What's the connection? לדרוש רמז מן הפרשה על חנוכה של נרות שאתה בית שני. He's trying to hint to him, there's going to be one day, your tribe is going to cause a what? A lighting of the menorah that is different than in a temple. Something else. It hints. Of course, you also light the menorah in the temple. But there's a hint over here that your tribe, the Kohanim, the Hashmonaim, we're all Kohanim, we're all Kohens, says, you're going to merit to light another menorah. What's the menorah? על ידי אהרון בניו, through Aaron and his sons. רצוני לומר, so God tells him, I'm telling you, חשמונאי כהן גדול ובניו, the whole era of the sons of the Hashmonai that fought the war and won the war against the Greeks and then lead the menorah, that's what I'm talking about. ובלשון הזה, he says, and I'm not inventing this answer, he says. He says, if I would invent this answer, זהו. The Nachmanides says, I saw it written in older scripts. Where did he see it? ובלשון הזה מצאתיה במגילת סתרים לרבנו ניסים. It says, I saw this answer already in a special book that belongs to רבנו ניסים, שהזכירה האגדה הזו, that he mentioned what I told you, ואמר, and he says, ראיתי במדרש, he says, I saw in a midrash, כיוון שהקריבו 12 שבטים ולא הקריב שבט לוי, since the 12 tribes brought to sacrifice except the tribe of Levi, אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה, דבר אל אהרון, ואמרת אליו, you should say, God talked to Moshe to tell אהרון, יש חנוכה אחרת. I know that this now is the dedication of the tabernacle, but there's going to be another dedication, another Chanukah. Look at the same words. The word Chanukah means dedication, because they rededicated the temple.
That's exactly what they did.
Oh, that's right. They rededicated it. So, יש חנוכה אחרת. There's going to be another Chanukah, he tells him. Another dedication. You're not going to participate in this dedication. You're right. You're going to participate in another dedication. שיש בה הדלקת נרות. That there is lighting of candles over there. ואני עושה בה לישראל על ידי בניך, ניסים ותשועה וחנוכה שקוראים על שמם. I'm going to make a whole dedication, a whole holiday, specifically for you, Aaron. Don't get, upset that you're not participating in this one. I have a better one for you. Somewhere else, down the road. והיא חנוכת בית חשמונאי. It is the Chanukah that we're talking about, that we celebrate. ולפיכך הסמיר פרשה זו לפרשת חנוכת המזבח עד כאן לשונו. And this is the lashon of the Rabbeinu Nisim. This is the way he explained it. And then Nachmanides says even more, וראיתי עוד, and I saw another thing. וכן במדבר רבה, in מדרש רבה, אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה, God said to Moshe, לך אמור לאהרון, אל תתיירא לגדולה מזה, אתה מוכן. It says, don't be upset that you're not dedicating the temple, the tabernacle. I've got another thing in mind for you. הקורבנות, he tells Aaron, you don't want to be in the tabernacle. It's a bad deal. I'm giving you a much better deal. It's a bad deal to come with the sacrifices to the temple. Why? Because it says, HaKorbanot, because it says when it comes to sacrifices, if I'll give you sacrifices, that's what you wanted. If I say the Ktoret, the incense, you know what the problem is with the incense? There's going to be a big problem if I'm going to give it to you. Why? Because your tribe can only perform it for how many years? 800 years. 800 years, that's it. But the Chanukah, it says you can perform forever. The Chanukah candles, you can perform forever. The first temple stood for 400 years, second temple for 410, for 20 or something like that, yeah. Around 800 years. הקורבנות, כל זמן שבית המקדש קיים הם נוהגים, the sacrifices, as long as the temple stand, we bring sacrifices, אבל הנרות, but the candles, the Chanukah candles, that I'm going to give you through your sons, לעולם אל מול הפני המנורה יאירו. They will always shine. They will always be there. Whether the temple is there, whether the temple is not there. It's for you a better deal to take what I'm going to give you later on. אינם בטלים לעולם. They're never going to be nullified. והנה דבר ידוע, it is known, שכשאין בית המקדש קיים, when there's no temple, הקורבנות בטלים. There's no sacrifices. מפני חורבנו, because of the destruction. אף הנרות בטלות. Even if the candles in the temple that Aaron built, those are also going to be nullified. He wasn't talking about these candles. He was talking about the candles of Chanukah, our candles. אבל לא רמזו אלא לנרות חנוכת חשמונאי שהיא נוהגת אף לאחר חורבנו. So he hinted to him, when I said the menorah, I didn't mean the menorah. I meant what? I meant Chanukah. That's according to Nachmanides, the entire thing. Okay. Source number 5, on page number 7 in the bottom. אמרו רז"ל, the sage says, כל המועדים בטלים חוץ מחנוכה בפורים. All the holidays, the simple explanation, all the holidays get to a stop, except Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah and Purim, you cannot stop them. Most of the holidays get stopped. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, without the temple, it's not the same Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur without the temple. Sukkot without the temple is Sukkot, but it's not Sukkot. It's Sukkot, but it's not Sukkot. Everything is not the same flavor, but Chanukah and Purim always have the flavor. That's always. Now we have to see what's the idea behind it. Page number 8. בגלל זה נתבהר, because of this it was explained, שגם חנוכת בית המקדש השלישי, שתהיה לעתיד לבוא, קשורה עם חנוכה. So now we have another thing that we need to see. When the third temple, may it be speedily built now, it also has a connection to what? To Chanukah. They both have to do with the number 8. The third temple, Chanukah, have to do with the number 8. But let's see. What do you mean? ועל זה שאלו מה שכתוב בילקוט שמעוני, ילקוט שמעוני, the Midrash says, שחנוכת בית המקדש השלישי תהיה במר חשוון. It says, hey, stop, it's not. It says the dedication of the third temple is going to be in which month? In the month of Cheshvan. And Chanukah happened in which month? In March Kislev. So how does it work? What's going on over here? So let's see. Yalkut Shimoni in source number 6 brings it like this. משנעשה הבית בירח בול מר חשוון, when King Solomon built the temple, he finished the temple. King Solomon finished the temple. When did he finish the temple? In the month of Cheshvan. Tishrei, Cheshvan. Second, the way we count, it depends how you count it, from Nisan or from Tishrei. But let's say count it like us. Tishrei, Cheshvan. Yeah, in Cheshvan. Na'asa na'ul. It says, it wasn't, in Cheshvan, the building was finished and nothing was, it was just standing there. It was locked and nobody was able to go inside. Miraculously, the door locked and you couldn't walk inside. You know the Kanor gates, the ones they didn't let anybody in. That's where it says Pitchu she'arim rosheichem. That's when it happened. That's right. But it happened. You're going to see what? It almost stood for a year. He didn't. The temple did not let anyone come in. We're going to see what happens. נעשה נעול, והכל היו ממלמלים על שלמה לומר. And everybody was wondering, what's going on over here? Why is the temple standing there, finished, nothing more to do, and he's just standing there? So he says, לא בנה של בת שבע הוא? He says, what are we starting to wonder? Isn't he the son of Bathsheba? I mean, if he's the son of Bathsheba, he's the legitimate king, he should take over. It should open for him. האח הקדוש ברוך הוא משרה שכינתו לתוך מעשה ידיו. How did God rest his presence in Solomon's handiwork? He says, when is God going to come there? והקדוש ברוך הוא, and what was God thinking? Why did God did not open let's say the Luna Park, the Beis HaMikdash, the temple? What wasn't it open? והקדוש ברוך הוא חשב לערב שמחת בית המקדש בחודש שנולד בו אברהם. God had another idea. God says 5 months from now. Why? Why 5 months from now? Because God says, I want the temple to open when Abraham was born. That's when I want. And בחודש שנולד בו אברהם. בירח האיתנים זה חודש תשרי. When is it? Sorry, not 5 months. 11 months from now. So the temple stood empty, Tishrei, from Cheshvan, the entire year until the next Tishrei. A whole year until the next Tishrei. 11 months. Nothing was standing. Nothing was happening inside. Everything was prepared, everything was done, and nothing is taking place. ולמה קורא אותו ירח האיתני? Why does he call it the month of the great ones? שנולד בו אברהם, because Abraham, the great giant, was born there. שנאמר משכיל לאיתן, because it says משכיל לאיתן האזרחי. It says about Abraham that he is the main giant, let's call him this way. וכיוון שנפתח בחודש מועדות והקריב הקורבנה, and since they opened the temple in Tishrei, and when הקריב הקורבנות, and then they brought the sacrifices on Tishrei, וירדה אש, and God agreed. The next deal. God agreed. How we know? Because the fire came down from the heavens. אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, then God said, עכשיו נשלמה המלאכה שנאמר, ותשלם כל המלאכה. Only now the work is done. In other words, he had to stand for a whole year.
And this is for בית המקדש השני.
First. ועל זה נאמר, עמקו מחשבותיך. And that's what we say, God has his plans. You think that you know what God's plans are? No. You prepare, and God will tell you, I have a plan, now it's not the time is going to be a year from now. Okay. וכן אתה מוצא במלאכת המשכן. And we see the same story in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle. What do we see in the tabernacle? אמר רבי חנינא בכ"ה בכסלו נגמר מלאכת המשכן. This is another thing. The tabernacle, they finished when? In Chanukah, כ"ה Kislev. The temple, they worked over it in the desert, and they finished the work on the 25th of Kislev. They finished the work on the tabernacle. Everything was done. And what did God do? ועשה מקופל עד אחד בניסן. God says, put it in storage until Nisan, 5 months from now. Why 5 months from now? Who's born 5 months from now? Yitzchak. Avraham is in Tishrei. Yitzchak is in Pesach. Yeah? So he said, it's good, you finished. I want it to stand until when? Until Nisan. והיו ישראל ממלמלים על משה לומר, למה הוא לא קם מיד? And the Jewish people come to Moshe and says, what are you doing? You built the tabernacle, everything is ready. You're supposed to start working. You say, no. Well, you put it on the side, another 4 months, 5 months, what's going on over here? Shemadofi, but they were worried, maybe we didn't build it the right way, maybe we didn't do something correctly. והקדוש ברוך הוא חשב לערב שמחת המשכן בחודש שנות ביצחק. No, it says God had his plans. God says tabernacle, I want him when to be built? In the month of Nisan, when Yitzchak was born. How do we know it's then? Because when the angels came to Abraham says to Sarah, Lushi ve'asiu got. It says, make bread for the guests. And then from there we learned what kind of bread it was. It was matzahs. We know that it was Pesach. The same thing. Very good. ורש"י מפרש שאברהם אבינו הכין למלכים שבאו לבשר על לידת יצחק מצות משום שהיה זה פסח. It says when Yitzchak was born, when the angels came to tell Sarah, that we're on page 9 on the top, when the angels told Sarah, he told them it's during the month of Pesach, during the holiday of Pesach. והמלאכים בישרו לאברהם שיצחק יולד בדיוק בשנה הבאה, נמצא שיצחק נולד בראש ניסן. And the angels told Avram, your son is going to be born exactly this time next year. If you remember the word. ומעתה. So then, from the tabernacle, there was a problem. What? The word Kislev again is crying. It says, you finished me on the 25th of Kislev, and now you have to wait? So Kislev, just like Aaron, is crying to God, what about me? What about, just like Aaron was crying in the tabernacle, what about me? Kislev is crying to God, what about me? Same thing as Aaron. ומעתה הפסיד כסלו שנגמרה במלאכה. So אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא עליי לשלם. So God told Kislev, the month of Kislev, don't worry. I know you were finished in the 25th of Kislev, and I know we didn't dedicate you, but I have another plan. My plan is I'm going to give you something better than the tabernacle. Yeah, like Aaron got, that's right. מה שילם לו הקדוש ברוך הוא? Where's the dedication of the temple that was finished on the 25th of Kislev? The tabernacle was finished. Where's that dedication? So it says Chanukah Hashmonai. That happened years later when the Hashmonaim won the war. They had to dedicate the temple. וכן מר חשוון שנגמרה בו מלאכת בית המקדש הראשון, עתיד הקדוש ברוך הוא לשלם לו. So the same thing as מר חשוון, that what? That the first temple is crying now. The month of Cheshvan is crying to God. Hey, you finished it on me. You waited a whole year. What about me? God says, don't worry, I have a plan for you. What is your plan? The third temple. The third temple is going to be in Cheshvan, just like Chafei Kislev was Chanukah. So okay, this is according to the Midrash, the Yalkut, bringing all these things together. Page number 9. ומובן שהביאור האמור שעל פי קבלה וחסידות שייך את חנוכת בית המקדש השלישי לחנוכה. So we see, it's the same story. The third temple and Chanukah are the same story. They're all both crying, how come you didn't use the date that you were finished? And God says, I have a plan for you. So for the tabernacle, God says, I have a plan for you, that's Chanukah. For the first temple, why did you wait? God sent for you, I have a plan for you. When it's going to be? It's going to be the third temple. So צריך להתיר מבואר בניגה, ולכאורה הרי מצינו בניגה השייכות של חנוכה לחנוכת בית המקדש השלישי. He says, everything is nice, but where is it's hinted that Chanukah, it has to be hinted somewhere else, that Chanukah and the third temple are connected. It says, we looked everywhere, we can't find, where is it? Where's the connection? Direct connection. Don't tell me, show me that it's a nice story, it's the same story. I want to see, where is it hinted at least, that Chanukah and the third temple have the same connection. Page 10. ויובן בהקדם הביאור בנוגע לחנוכה. So now, once we understand what Chanukah is all about, we're going to understand the connection. שעניינו העיקרי הוא ניצחון המלחמה. It says, it's true that we make a big deal about the cruise of oil. But what's the main thing? The main thing that there was an army of, think about, 3,000 men who won against an army of 100,000 Greek soldiers. And the 100,000 Greek soldiers were armed. And they had tanks, which were elephants, and they had everything. Exactly. And 1,000 men, farmers, pretty much beat the entire Greek army. That was the miracle. That's why we're celebrating. הוא ניצחון המלחמה. ובהמשך לזה, and because of this, they won this war, חנוכת המזבח ובית המקדש. They were able to dedicate the altar and dedicate the temple. כהנוסח באמירת ועל הניסים. And we're going to see, and when we say in our prayer, what are we saying in our prayer when we say על הניסים? So during Chanukah, we add a section that we say. And let's see what it says in that section that we add. And by the way, in that section, is the oil mentioned? Is the miracle of the oil? No. There's no miracle oil. What was the miracle according to what we say?
We won the war.
We won the war. That was the miracle. So let's look inside. I'm going to go through this quickly because mostly we know this. So in source number 7, we're going to read what we say during Chanukah. We say, ועל הניסים, on all miracles, על הפורקן ועל הגבורות, all the redemption, ועל התשורות והנפלאות, all the great miracles שעשית לאבותינו בימים הזה, that you did to our ancestors. It says, what did you do? בימי מתתיהו בן יוחנן כהן גדול, in the days of Matityahu, the son of Yochanan, the high priest, חשמונאי, ובניו וניסן, כשאדם מלכות יוון הרשעה למך, when the kingdom of Greece stood upon us, להשכיחם תורתך, look what it was. It was a religious war. They didn't care about what we do, about us. They didn't want anything from us. They wanted to be not religious. That's what they cared about. They cared about Jews being some other class. We're going to discuss why did they care so much if we're religious, not religious. Who cares? But some other class, not right now. We don't have the time for it right now. להשכיחם תורתך. They wanted to make sure no one is going to be religious. ולהעבירה מחוקי רצונך. Nobody's going to study Torah. Nobody's going to do the commandments. ואתה ברחמך הרבים, it says, and you with your great mercy, עמדת להם בצרתם, you saved them, רבת את ריבם, you fought for them, דנת את נגדם, you judged them, נקמת את נקמתם, you avenged them. מסרת גיבורים ביד חלשים, you gave the mighty in the hands of the weak, רבים ביד מעטים, the many in the hands of the few, וטמאים ביד טהורים, and the impure in the hands of the pure, ורשעים ביד צדיקים, and the evil in the hand of the righteous, וזדים ביד עוסקי תורתך, and those who go against the Torah in the hands of those who are busy learning Torah. Okay? ולך, page 11, ולך עשית שם גדול וקדוש בעולמך, and that's how you spread the miracle all over the world. Everybody in the world now knows the Jews are special. Why do they know Jews are special? Because the Greeks pretty much took over the entire world, and there was one nation, a small little tiny nation that the Greeks couldn't take over. The name of what the Jews were, the name of God, became spread because of that all over the world. ולעמך ישראל עשית תשועה גדולה ופורקן כיום הזה. And to you, Jewish nation, you saved. ואחר כך, and then in the end, It says, אחר כך באו בניך לדביר ביתך, then they came to the temple, פינו את היכליך, they cleaned it of all the idol worship, תיארו את מקדשך, they took zeus out, they purified, yeah, והדליקו נרות בחצרות קודשך, and they lit candles in your, in the temple. Yeah, הדליקו נרות בחצרות קודשך, it's not talking about Chanukah, it's talking about a celebration. Yeah? וקבעו, and they established, 8 ימי חנוכה אלו, להודות לאל שמך הגדול. And then they established the 8 days of Chanukah. Now, what do we learn from it? ועל פי זה נשאלת השאלה. Now comes the question. Again, it's a question that we don't ask, because we're used to it. We know what the holidays are. But if I'm going to ask you now, and you're going to think about it, it says, hey, why don't we? מדוע לא קבעו יום טוב על חנוכת המשכן? Why is there no יום טוב on the first day that the tabernacle worked?
Why there is no Yom Tov?
There's no Yom Tov. We don't celebrate it. There's no Yom Tov. Nobody made a Yom Tov out of it. When do we? The tabernacle in the desert. Why don't we? Why wasn't it Yom Tov? ובית המקדש. And why wasn't it Yom Tov? The first temple was dedicated. Why wasn't it Yom Tov? The second temple was dedicated. All of a sudden, in the middle of the second temple, they rededicate the second temple, and that they made a Yom Tov. Excuse me. And what about the first temple?
Not because of Chanukah.
But look in the end. ואחר כך באו בניך, in the end, the second paragraph in the page. Yeah? Because of the rededication. That's why the Yom Tov is. Look. Because of the rededication. So it says, if that's because of the dedication, you do it, you should have done it you should have been a Yom Tov, a holiday, in the desert, established. Yeah, to be established forever. Not just for that one day. It should, in the time, the first temple should be Yom Tov, the second temple. כמו שקבעו יום טוב דחנוכה על חנוכת בית המקדש ביום החושמונאים. The same thing. It says, why wasn't it? What's going on? Yeah, it was a big miracle, exactly. So it says, בנוגע לחנוכת המשכן, יש רק עניין מנהג שאינו מן תחנון. When it comes to חנוכת המשכן, from the first of Nisan until Pesach, we don't say tachnun. Why? Because of that. But it's not a Yom Tov. We just don't say tachnun. It's not a Yom Tov. ותו לא, and no more than that. That's yeah, Rosh Chodesh is every time. That's not for... Yeah, but the entire 11 days. Yeah, but all the other days until Chafei, when we say the Nasi, all the days of the Nasi, we don't say Tachnun. Yeah, because of that. But it's not a Yom Tov. ובנוגע לחנוכת בית המקדש הראשון, what about the dedication of the first temple? הנה, by the way, this is again another class. We're not going to discuss it today. You're going to find it very controversial, but we'll have to live with it. הנה בפעם הראשונה חגגו, you should know that the first dedication of the first temple was something that you're going to say, what? This is what they did. So it says, you remember the first dedication of the first temple was when? On Tishrei, right? So that's when they did it. שבעת ימים ושבעת ימים 14 יום. They celebrated it for 14 days. What does that mean? If you start on the first of Tishrei, וביניהם גם יום הכיפורים. And amongst those celebrations, this 2-week celebration, Yom Kippur falls in these 14 days. Yom Kippur is on the 10th. And this is the first of Tishrei. אבל לא מצינו שנקבע ליום טוב בשני של החסד. But even though there was a great celebration the first year of the dedication, we didn't find that in the next year they re-celebrated it. And you're going to see something very strange. Oh, it's in the end of the page. I'm going to wait for it. You'll have to wait for it. Source number 8. Where do we see this? And the dedication of the Mishkan, the same thing. We don't celebrate it. Where do we see it? ויבוא משה ואהרון אל אוהל מועד. Moshe and Aaron came to the meeting tent. ויצאו ויברכו את העם. They went out. They blessed the nation. וירא כבוד השם לכל העם. Hashem revealed himself to the nation. ותצא אש מלפני השם. A fire came before God. ותאכל על המזבח את העולה ואת החלבים. The fire came and they ate the sacrifices. וירא כל העם וירונו ויפלו על פניהם. The entire nation saw such a big miracle, and we don't make it a holiday. And let's look at source number 9, just that you see how strange it was in the time, how great event it was at the time of King Solomon. ויקהלו אל המלך שלמה כל איש ישראל. Everybody from all over Israel came to Yerushalayim, to the dedication. בירח האיתנים בחג וחודש תשביעי. When? On the month of Tishrei. You remember, Nisan is the first, so Tishrei is the seventh over here. Yeah? ויעש שלמה בעת ההיא את החג, וכל ישראל עמו, קהל גדול. And there was a great crowd מלבוא, חמת עד נחל מצרים לפני השם אלוקינו, 7 ימים, 7 ימים 14 יום. There were 14 days. And look at what Rashi says. You know what kind of great celebration it was? Don't ask me right now. We're going to do it some other time. 7 ימים של חינוך. There was 7 days of celebration. ושימת ימים חג הסוכות. And then 7 more days of the holidays of Sukkot. נמצאו שאכלו ושתו ביום הכיפורים. That it was such a great event that Yom Kippurim was cancelled. That's what a great event, that's how much a great event it was. So imagine if the great event of the dedication of the temple was such a great event that no Yom Kippur. I told you, no time for that. It's a whole class by its own. Yeah. It was such a great event that even Yom Kippur was cancelled. And I ask, what are you crazy? You don't cancel such thing. Look how great the event was, and you don't celebrate it? You have to celebrate. How come we don't celebrate it? That's the question. Chanukah, we celebrate. All these things, we don't celebrate. So the Rebbe brings, page 13. ומבואר בזה, so it explains בthis. שהסיבה לכך שלא נקבע יום טוב על חנוכת המשכן, it says, I'll tell you why. What's the difference? Why is it not a holiday when the tabernacle in the desert? And why it's not a holiday in the first temple? And why it's not a holiday in the second temple? Why did it not become a holiday in all the things? בגלל שלא היה אז מעמד ומצב שבני ישראל יצאו מצרה לרווחה. It's because holidays are established when God saves us. That's when holiday. That's what it says. Wait. Yeah, it says when our holiday is established, when God saves us, He takes us out of something. Then you establish a holiday. Then you can establish it. What does it mean? So he explains. חנוכת המשכן הייתה משך זמן לאחרי שבירת מצרים. It says the tabernacle was already after all the miracles that happened in Egypt. They were already saved for a long time. וגם לאחרי מתן תורה. It was also after the giving of the Torah. And it was also after the second tablets, where God forgave them about the first tablets. כך שלא היה אז מצב של יציאה מצרה. The Jewish people were not threatened at the time. Nobody was trying to kill them. They were there, they were happy. God even forgave them for the first tablets. And the day after comes this. So in other words, what was it? Why there's no celebration? Because everybody is relaxed. When there's relaxation, it looks like this is the way it says. When you're relaxed, you're happy with your lot, you're happy with where you are. There's no celebration. Yeah? You cannot make it into a holiday. It's a celebration, but don't make it into a holiday. Not that kind of celebration. וכן חנוכת בית ראשון הייתה בימי שלמה. Also, the first temple was at the time, everything was good. King David killed all the enemies. Yeah? King Solomon, everybody in the world wanted to be his friend. Everything is good.
Nobody wanted to be Jewish.
Everybody wanted to be Jewish. עליו נאמר, וישב שלמה על כיסא השם. It says, Shlomo sat on the throne of glory. Shalom ושקט איתן על ישראל בימיו. Everything was peaceful. Everybody. It was a nice time. לאחרי שדוד ונראה. Who did all the war? His father, King David. He had to go to war. King Solomon just ate all the goodness that King David prepared for him. כך שהיה אז מצב של הרווחה. Everything was good. But what about the second temple? Let's see. ועל דרך זה בנוגע לחנוכת בית שני. You should know it says the second temple is also similar a little bit. Why? אף שהייתה לאחרי גלות, even though the second temple is after the exile, between the first and the temple there were 70 years in exile, הרי היה זה המשך זמן לאחרי שעזרא העלה את בני ישראל מבבל ארץ ישראל. It was already after the Jewish people were back into Israel. Ezra took whoever he could. He took back to Israel. They're already sitting in Israel. Nobody is trying to kill them. Nobody is trying. Purim already happened. That already happened many years ago. This is 50 years later. Everybody is comfortable. Everybody is in Israel. כך שבעת חנוכת בית המקדש לא היה נרגש כל כך היציאה מצרה. People didn't feel that they're going out of oppression. ולאידך גיסא, and furthermore you should know though, גם מצב הרווחה לא היה בשביל. Second temple was not as good as the first temple. It wasn't as good. Why? כיוון שעדיין היו תחת משלת כורש, even though they were not under threat that they're going to be killed, still there was a Koresh, a governor, that they were under his rule. He was nice to the Jews. He was very kind to the Jews, but you're still under his rule. It's like America. It might be nice to the Jews, but it's still under his rules. שלכן הוצרכו לבקש ממנו רישיון לבנות בית המקדש. Therefore, they needed to get, they needed a license from him in order to build the temple.
He was the son of Esther.
Uh-huh. So it says, and what happened in Chanukah? It says, Chanukah now deserves a holiday. Why Chanukah is different? רק בחנוכה היה מעמד ומצב של מציאה מן המיצר אל המרחב. Chanukah was a situation where we were completely oppressed and we broke out. כפי שמעריך הרמב"ם. And this is why the Rambam says. The Rambam explains to you why they made a holiday. He explains the word. What he says, שמלכי יוון גזרו גזרות על ישראל. There were decrees on the Jewish people. And we're going to see what decrees soon. ולחצום לחץ גדול. They were under great oppression. ולכן כשניצחו אותם, therefore when they won, ועד שחינכו את בית המקדש, קבעו זאת יום טוב. Because it was from oppression to freedom, that's when you celebrate it. That's when you celebrate it. And what's the great oppression in the time of Chanukah? The Greeks were a great nation, so let's see what they did. Like I said, it was a religious war. Let's see how they tried to take the religious out of the Jewish people. So תנו רבנן במלכות יוון הרשעה גזרו על ישראל. Says, this is the decrees that the Greeks tried to take the religion out of the Jewish people. Number one, שכל מי שיש לו בריח בתוך ביתו, it says anybody who has a bolt in his house, you know, like now in Israel everybody is talking about the cheder mugan, the room that you have to put the bolt in the room so they can come in. So it says in Israel everybody had a bolt, the thing you lock the door with, the bolt, you know, for the inside. So it says this was the rule. Yachakok alav, it says you have to say that the haters of Israel, when he says haters of Israel, it means Jews. They told the Jews to write the haters of Israel because they don't want to write the Jews should write. You know, we don't want it to write. שאין לשונאי ישראל, בני ישראל בשעות סגי נהור, חלק ונחלה באלוקי ישראל. It says the rule was like this. You want to own a house in Israel, the Greeks have a rule. You have to put on your bolt inside your house, you have to put on your bolt, it has to say that we don't believe in God. We don't believe in God. That's right. That's a sign in front of the boat. You know, like we. That's right. You remember what we said about we a few days ago? We said all the Arabs in Israel have to have an Israeli flag on their house. This is the Greek says all the Jews have to have a Greek flags on their house. That's what it says. Yeah, all the Jews have to have a Greek flag. Greek flag means you don't believe in God. You're an atheist. That's what the Greek flag means. Yeah, if you don't have the zeh, that's it. We're going to kill you. So what did the Jews do? מיד הלכו ישראל ועקרו בריחים שבבתיהם. Immediately all the Jews went and they took all the bolts from the house. We don't have no bolts. No problem. But we're not going to write it. Doors are open. Anybody can come. But we're not writing this thing. Second, ועוד גזרו, another decree, שכל מי שיש לו שור, you have sustenance, you have a bull. You remember, you have to have a bull at that time was a sign of wealth. It was like saying, dollars. Yeah? So you have to write on your money, pretty much. Over here in America, we write in God we trust. In the Jewish money, which was bulls, that was the bulls, like a bumper sticker, good. יכתב על קורנו שאין לשונאי ישראל חלק בישראל. Again, you have to write a bumper sticker, I don't believe in God. Opposite of what America says on the money. That's right. הלכו ישראל ומכרו שוריהם. And this is what the Jews do. They sold all the bulls. That's it. There are no more cows. They sold all the money. ועוד גזרו עליהם שיהיו בועלים לשם נידות. Another decree, they said, me women are not allowed to go to the mikveh. No more mikvehs in Israel. הלכו ישראל ופרשו מנשיהם. So the Jewish people divorced the wives. Yeah, whatever the Greeks try to do, the Jews find a solution. ועוד גזרו, and there was another decree, שכל מי שנושא אישה תיפעל להגמון תחילה, that anybody who gets married needs to go to the governor first. ואחר כך תחזור לבעלה. So the first person she has the relationship has to be the governor, and then she can go. And by the way, Yehudis, the whole Chanukah story started from there. Because the people accepted it. According to halacha, they said maybe it's okay here, there, and they gave permission. So Yehudis, the daughter of the Matityahu, she was the daughter of Matityahu. She came once when the sages were sitting in a room, and she started undressing. And everybody wanted to say, hey, kill her, what is she doing, how she's behaving? What do you mean she's trying to undress? So she stood in front of the sages and says, you are telling me that I'm immodest when you know that every night a woman is taken before her husband to go to this non-Jew to be raped pretty much, and you don't do nothing about it? So it says, don't blame me, blame yourself, you're worse than me. And that's how the war started. The war started because they took, he says, you know what, she's right, and then the revolt.
To get married.
Yeah.
And she had to go there.
That's right.
And she said, I'm not going.
And then the revolt started. Because of her, the revolt started. So we see all the decrees of the Greeks, how oppressed were the Jews. They were living a terrible life. Page 15. ועל פי זה יש לבאר השייכות של חנוכת בית המקדש השלישי לחנוכת חשמונאי. So now we're going to understand what's the connection between the third temple and חשמונאי, and חנוכה. אף על פי שחנוכת חשמונאי הייתה בחודש כסלו, even though we know that Chanukah happened in Kislev. And the temple, the third temple, is going to be built, dedicated when? In חשוון. יש שייכות ביניהם בנוגע ליציאת בני ישראל בין המצר. We are in exile right now. We are oppressed right now. Everybody who lives in Israel now, you don't even have a doubt what's happening right now. This is an oppression. And this is the time that when Mashiach is going to come, people are going to breathe. Imagine living in Israel for the past 75 years. Every day there's rockets on your head. Which other country in the world, for the past 50 years, every day a rocket falls on the population? It's for the last 50 years non-stop. Every day there's rockets on the head. Which other country lives like this? No one has. Such oppression you don't have. שערי בניין בית המקדש שלישי יהיה לאחרי שמשיח ילכו מחילות השם. It says, when is the third temple going to be built? So you should know the third temple is going to be built after Mashiach is going to be revealed. And not only revealed, he's going to fight the wars of God. In other words, he's going to defeat all our enemies. Only after he defeats all our enemies, only then the temple is going to be built. So a lot of people say, why don't we take the Temple Mount right now and build the temple? Right? We can take the Temple Mount. But even if we take it, there's no purpose in taking it. Why? Because we can't build the temple anyway. Because Mashiach has to be revealed first. And after he's revealed, he has to go and fight all our enemies. And only after he wins, only then the temple is going to be rebuilt.
Maximum do demolition.
That's right. That's the most we can do. That's right. כמו חנוכת חשמונאי, it's going to be just like the dedication of the Chanukah, שהייתה לאחרי הניצחון על מלכות יוון. It has to come after the victory. The third temple has to come when? After we built all our enemies. ולכן יש ללמוד מחנוכת חשמונאי, עניין של קביעת יום טוב, גם בנוגע לחנוכת בית המקדש השלישי. And now we're going to see, when the third temple is going to be built, just like Chanukah, it's going to be what?
After we won the war.
After we won the war, it's going to be one more thing. It's going to become a Yom Tov. It's going to become a Yom Tov. Because it was taken from oppression to there. Not like all the other temples, which was no oppression. So that's the connection. Chanukah was a ke'en, was a preparation of the third temple. That's why it says it lasts forever. Just like the third temple lasts forever, Chanukah is connected and is going to be last forever. ויהי רצון שנזכר לזה בקרוב ממש, may it be that we're going to marry this speedily in our days. And there's two ways for it to happen. Some say that the temple can come immediately. There's a way that we described it, that it is going to be a whole long process, has to do with war and has to do with things. And there's another say, באופן דבעתה, or באופן דזכוח ישנה. It can come at its time, and that means the way we describe it, or it can come if we do the right thing. We can be just like this. ובאופן שבני ישראל יוצאים ביד רמה. But it has to be in such a way that the Jewish people comes with their hand on top.